I want to state that I have not been reckless in the management of the fiscal operations of government. Rather, our strenuous efforts to protect the public purse is what has helped this government to have achieved much more than any government ever over a similar period in virtually all sectors, including education, health, social welfare, policing, security in general, roads, railways, agriculture, industrialization, tourism, digitization, and funding for anti-corruption institutions. Honorable co-chairs, I've come to Parliament House 10 times, 11 times since this government in the last 6 years to present the annual and mid-year budgets. On all occasions, I have discussed all proposed fiscal operations of government, revenue, expenditure, and financing. On all these occasions, I receive approval as Parliament subsequently passed appropriation bills for all those budgets. Every key expenditure made has been supported by this House. Indeed, we also saw the dire consequences when the House for months refused to pass a major revenue generation item introduced by this government to support the fiscal stability of the economy. Sadly, the minority leader, when this government was compelled to approach the fund this year, triumphantly took credit for frustrating government's efforts to meet its half-year revenue targets. He told the parliamentary press corps last June that thanks to the opposition, government has already lost half-year revenue that can only be attributed to the purpose and tenacity of the minority group in Parliament, unquote. The consequences of this intentional stance have been dire. It precipitated a lack of confidence in the international market and closed access to Ghana's traditional Eurobond issuance. Honorable co-chairs, it is worthwhile to note that indeed the proponents offered only one item as not having been approved by Parliament for payment, the National Cathedral of Ghana, and I have shown that to be untrue. I hope we can take it that by extension of their proposition, they accept that all other expenditures have been approved by Parliament. We must all boldly share in the positive achievements regularly reported by the Bank of Ghana in its quarterly fiscal development reports for the years 2017 to 2021. Honorable co-chairs, it cannot be sustained that have been reckless in supporting the implementation of the decisions of Parliament. Honorable co-chairs, with the approval of funds by Parliament, in the last 6 years, we have undertaken major transformative investments to improve the quality of life of Ghanaians. We have mobilized and invested in excess of 28.3 billion as of September 2022 to implement the transformative flagship programs that improve social mobility and the quality of life of Ghanaians. Most of these did not exist prior to 2017. This includes supporting 1,765,977 Ghanaian students under free SHS TVET to promote human capital development and social mobility. Enrolling 15,656,160 Ghanaians aged 15 years and above on the National Identification Program by September 2021 to enhance security and economic efficiency. Support about 100,000 young graduates to enter the job market. Providing needed infrastructure to support decentralization and local governance to expand access to public services under the Regional Reorganization Program. Promoting the development of railway network to advance national and regional connectivity. Supporting the ongoing construction of fishing harbors to service key coastal communities including Axim, Diskop, Moree, Mumford, Winneba, Senyabreku, Gomoafete, Teshi, and Jamestown. Increasing school feeding beneficiaries from 1,677,322 in 2016 to 3,300,000 pupils in 2021. Increasing LEAP beneficiaries from 195,860 households in 2017 to 344,023 in 2021 to improve the livelihoods for the underprivileged in our society. increasing food production and security through planting for food and jobs. That's led to a 71% increase in the national production of maize and 34% in paddy rice. We have invested significantly in retooling security sector to maintain territorial integrity and improve internal security. CCTVs, motorbikes, vehicles, forward operating bases, recruitment of security personnel, etc. We have recruited over 200,000 Ghanaians into crucial services such as education, health, security, and local government. Established a tree crop development authority with a focus on mango, cashew, rubber, oil palm, shea, and coconut in order to diversify our economy and provide raw materials for industrialization. This and many more we have done. Honorable Co-Chairs, the idea that the depreciation of the cedi is a result of fiscal recklessness is not supported by the available facts. The Ghana cedi consistently performed very well throughout my tenure as Finance Minister up to March 2022. The records show that between 2012 and 2016, the cedi depreciated by an average of 17%, whilst between 2017 and 2021, the average rate of depreciation was 7%. The major contributors to the currency problem are not necessarily fiscal factors. Honorable Co-Chairs, unlike July 2014, when the cedi was last rated as the worst performing currency, the 2022 depreciation is largely attributed to extraordinary global factors, including the strengthening of the US dollar, even against the major international currencies like the UK pound, the yen, and the euro, and speculation due to economic uncertainties. For example, in this year, 2022, the euro is worth less than the dollar for the first time in 20 years. As stipulated in Article 183 of the Constitution, Section 2A, the Bank of Ghana shall promote and maintain the stability of the currency of Ghana and direct and regulate the currency system in the interest of the economic progress of Ghana. As such, the Bank of Ghana, which manages our reserves, is leading the interventions to contain the depreciation of the cedi. Government, on its part, is undertaking real sector interventions through initiatives such as 1D, 1F and the Ghana Cares program to accelerate the import substitution and export-led economy, such that products such as poultry and rice would be produced here to reduce foreign exchange pressures from the imports of these products. We intend to announce additional measures to promote the consumption of local produce. Furthermore, the implementation of the AFCFTA positions Ghana as a continental trade hub, and we shall take advantage and boost the export orientation of our industries. The Ministry of Finance has also arranged significant financing, including the $750 million from Afri-Exim Bank to support the 2022 budget and boost our foreign exchange reserves. This forex inflow has improved the supply of foreign currency and boosted the stability of the local currency. We continue to explore avenues to secure additional financing to boost the country's reserve position. Co-chairs, on the issue of alarming incompetence and frightening ineptitude resulting in the collapse of the Ghanaian economy and an excruciating cost of living crisis. That is 6. I state as follows. These are very, very strong languages. And it is unfortunate, as also was the one on recklessness. Honorable Co-Chairs, the choice of words for these is worrying, especially as it relates to the functioning of the whole national economy and is resulting in the censure of the Minister for Finance. The truth is, considerable progress has been made under my tenure as Minister for Finance since 2017. Honorable co-chairs, we have competently managed the economy since 2017. Indeed, to appreciate where we are now, we need to look back at where we came from. At the close of 2016, an assessment of the economy revealed limited fiscal space, deficit of 6.5%, a distressed financial sector, non-performing loans ratio about 17.3%, an asset quality review document that had not been triggered, a derailed IMF ECF program, and reduced economic output of negative 3.4%. Inflation was 15.4% at the end of 2016, and monetary policy rate was 25.5% at the end of December 2016. Limited capital expenditure to MDAs, doomsaw which had decimated local industry and strongly impeded national productivity. Honorable co-chairs, it is important to note that through our leadership and commitment to turn around the economy from its state in 2016, we made great strides and remarkable progress in the years before the pandemic, and the records attest to this. The headline facts were, we doubled economic growth in our first 3 years, and Ghana's growth in 2019 was touted as one of the highest globally. Inflation came down significantly from 15.4% to 7.9% at the end of 2019 and remained in single digits till the pandemic hit in March 2020. The fiscal deficit, which was about 6.5%, was brought down to under 5% by the end of 2019. Exchange rate depreciation reduced significantly to under 5% in 2017 and averaging 8.7% between 2017 and 2019. We reduced interest rates in line with declining inflation expectations. Monetary policy rate declined from 25.5% at the end of December 2016 to 16% at the end of 2019, while the average lending rate for the same period declined from 31.7% to 23.7%. The government directly spent $25 billion to save the banking and SDI sector, protecting the near collapse of the financial sector, saving close to 5,400 direct jobs, 12,000 indirect jobs, and making sure that 4.6 million depositors were protected. And government also implemented comprehensive reforms across the energy sector and kept the lights on to date. On the back of good economic management, Ghana successfully completed and exited the IMF ECF program that we inherited in April 2019. To ensure irreversibility of the macroeconomic gains, government introduced a number of measures, including passage of the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2018, Act 982, to cap the fiscal deficit at 5% of GDP and ensure maintenance of positive primary balance. Passage of the Public Financial Management Regulations 2019, LI 2378, to strengthen regulation of the public financial management system. Establishment of 2 social partnership programs with labor and faith-based organizations. Clearly, there was strong momentum and optimism towards Ghana Beyond Aid at the end of 2019. However, with the onset of the pandemic, the gains from over 3 years of fiscal rectitude were reversed as a result of efforts to ensure lives and livelihoods were protected. Ultimately, these considerations inform the raft of revenue and expenditure measures outlined in the 2022 budget statement. We laid out the 2022 budget to achieve fiscal consolidation anchored on debt sustainability. It is important at this point to also highlight that the key component of the national debt stock related to 3 exceptional expenditure items that are neither external nor a creation of this government. Energy sector excess capacity payments, 17 billion, which relates to a legacy of take-or-pay contracts that saddle the country's economy with annual payments in excess capacity charges of close to $1 billion. Direct COVID-19 expenditure amounted to Ghana cedis 12 billion. the banking sector cleanup of 25 billion. These three items alone contribute to about 23% of our annual debt servicing costs. These three items were not created from the recklessness of our party. The long doings of the Ghanaians endured during the NDC administration between 2012 and 2016 was more to do with NDC's government ability to pay for power. So, co-chairs, I find it curious that Honorable Atta would choose to cite energy bills as an example of the recklessness that the minority charges me with and seek my removal by censure. Honorable co-chairs, in actual fact, we have been able to renegotiate some of these power purchase agreements, and the new agreements, when implemented with the priority IPPs, when finalized, will estimated save us $4 billion a year over the next 5 years. We have also used a significant part of the borrowing to undertake key transformative investments, such as the fixing construction of over 11,500 kilometers of new roads between 2017 and 2021, the construction of 12 major interchanges since 2017, as compared to 5 interchanges in the previous 8 years, previous to 2016, construction of the Eastern Regional and Central Gonja hospitals, commencement work on 87 of the Agenda 1111 district hospitals projects, funding ongoing airport projects, including the Kumasi International Airport, promoting the establishment of the Development Bank of Ghana to provide competitive long-term financing for Ghanaian enterprises. Indeed, the e-levy was born out of this heightened need to mobilize resources sufficient for managing the preeminent challenges of our time: fiscal consolidation, debt sustainability, and reducing youth unemployment. Unfortunately, the delay in the passage impacted really the confidence of the international market and largely contributed to the ensuing downgrade in Ghana's sovereign credit rating in January 2022. This resulted in Ghana being closed from the international markets and not being able, therefore, to issue its Eurobonds as it traditionally does in the first quarter. So we lost confidence in the international investors. For this reason, access to international capital market funds was no longer available, which resulted in a severe balance of payment problem that needs to be addressed, and we are addressing. The government thus resorted to the IMF as a lender of last resort in July to not only address the immediate and active balance of payment need, but also to protect all the macro and social policy gains made in the last 5 years. Undoubtedly, the last few months have seen considerable economic uncertainty and challenges. These have been characterized by high inflation, rapid depreciation of the cedi. Indeed, the economic challenges we are facing require deliberate but urgent, well-thought-out strategic steps, as well as the support of all of the Ghanaian people. The above notwithstanding, there are still some bright spots. Overall, our growth outturn of 3.4% and 4.8% in Q1 and Q2 2022 respectively, coupled with modest improvement in our fiscal position, suggests our economy is gradually on the upswing despite the numerous shocks we have faced over the past 2 years. This progress gives us a solid foundation to confront the challenges in front of us. Undoubtedly, risks remain that we are highly attuned to. However, the Ministry of Finance is committed to working alongside all stakeholders, including the members of Parliament, to ensure we can reposition our economy back on a path of growth and prosperity. Mr. Co-Chairs, there's a claim of gross mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy, which has occasioned untold and unprecedented hardship. Honorable Co-Chairs, the current economic challenges we are experiencing in Ghana is not the outcome of mismanagement, but we acknowledge the hardships our people are going through in these very difficult times. This assessment is wholly shared by objective observers, In the recent words of the Managing Director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, and I quote, "To the people of Ghana, like everybody else on this planet, you have been hurt by exogenous shocks, first the pandemic, then Russia's war in Ukraine, and what we need to realize is not because of bad policies in the country, but because of this combination of shocks," unquote. I've already discussed the domestic triggers behind the depreciating cedi. We simply cannot overlook the significant impact of the delayed passage of the revenue measures outlined in the 2022 budget, which resulted in negative market reactions, credit rating downgrades, the narrowing of financing sources, and the eventual depreciation of the cedi. The timelines are obvious and cannot be ignored. Honorable Co-Chairs, it is time to have an honest national conversations on the patterns of expenditure as a people, our preference for imported goods, which require foreign exchange that we do not earn enough of, implies that our cedi will continue to be under pressure. It has become clear that we cannot continue in a business-as-usual mode. We have to significantly change our consumption patterns and support investments in local capacity for production and export. Honorable Co-Chairs, even in these challenging times, we have not been rudderless. We have prepared the Post-COVID-19 Program for Economic Growth, PCPEG, as a domestic blueprint which has benefited from input from all key stakeholders, including civil society, social partners, labor unions, employers, and faith-based organizations, academia, industry professionals, and the leadership of Parliament. This document contains a set of time-bound structural reforms and fiscal consolidation measures to place our debt levels and fiscal accounts on a sustainable path over the medium term, and has underpinned government's engagement with the IMF. The negotiation with the IMF is progressing steadily and well, and we are working assiduously to achieve a staff-level agreement by end of December 2022. As the President announced recently, government is aggressively pursuing initiatives that will structurally boost the export orientation of this economy. In the coming 2023 budget and following consultations of key stakeholders, including AGI, labor, and the trading community, we expect to announce critical measures in this regard. This will complement that ongoing private sector-led interventions being promoted under the 1D1F and the Ghana Cares programs. However, the world had no playbook to help us tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. Parts of the Ghanaian economy were shut down, including hotels, restaurants, and events places. Our efforts were further destabilized by the disturbance in the global supply chain. But even in those times, Mr. Co-Chairs, we provided electricity and water free, grants and loans to businesses in the formal and informal sectors. We also paid our workers even when some were home for 9 months and did not lay off anyone. The country has been saved from the disruptions in supply chains, record hikes in prices of energy, food, and commodities. Every economy is facing macro fiscal challenges, rises in public debt levels, and narrowing fiscal space. Our situation was not helped by a combination of historic weaknesses in the structure of our import-dependent economy and our low capacity, even as compared to our neighbors, in raising domestic revenues. The 2023 budget will contain policies directly aimed at tackling these vulnerabilities. Honorable Co-Chairs, I am aware of the enormity of the challenges we face. I am aware that lives and livelihoods need to be protected. We have a well-consulted plan and the commitment to address this economic challenge. The Ministry of Finance and I have been working hard 24/7 to quickly restore market confidence and ensure economic growth. We are nearly through with the IMF negotiations. I am confident that once we conclude our debt sustainability program and secure a fund program, the nation will next year see the stability and fiscal space that can spur us back onto a sustainable economic recovery and growth, which should endure considering on the investments we have made in all sectors. Mr. Chairman, I'll be concluding soon. Co-chairs, as a child, I was taught a hymn that has guided me throughout my life. Land of our birth, we pledge to thee our love and toil in the years to be. When we are grown and take our place
is it in one
as
of
men
the Roman,
and women,
which Mr. was the mentioned books? Mr. Minister.
This will be Methodism. Honorable Damboche would...
well, that's what I was wondering. I've seen him hanging around here. He's very good at those. Mr. Boche, which one is that? Methodist, Hebrew God.
When we are grown and take our place as men and women of our race, land of our birth, our faith, our pride, for whose dear sake our fathers died, O motherland, we pledge to thee head, heart, and hand through the years to be. Inspired by these words of this hymn, co-chairs, when I assumed the position of Minister of Finance, I resolved to serve the people of Ghana with my all. Under my tenure as Minister of Finance, I have overseen some great strides in the development of Ghana and the improvement of the lives of the Ghanaian people. As a nation, we are being tested. Our circumstances require a united and concerted response to the crisis. I employ our chiefs, elders, and church leaders to take the mantle and speak a common language. Let us all work as one country to support our labor negotiations, find a solution to the impasse in Parliament, and rise above witch hunting and entrapment. These are not ennobling and progressive for a society seeking transformation. Honorable co-chairs, Ghana is a resilient country. Ghana has faced economic challenges since independence. Ghana has always come through each of them stronger and better than before. God willing, we shall come out of these difficult times too. Ghana will and must rise again. Thank you, co-chairs. God bless our country.
Thank you very much, Honorable Finance Minister. But do I look like a witch? That's just by the way.
Co-chair, I was not aware that you've been. I was not aware that.
Or maybe I look like the hunter.
I was not aware that you've been hunting, naturally. So. Thank you very much, sir.
Sorry. Before, yes, go
on. Co-chair, thank you for the opportunity.
I thought you already. Sorry. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Where the documents that Mr. Minister.
Exactly.
Mr. Minister, you propose to tender some.
Yes.
Yes. Can we have them with the clerk? Yes, and then. Oh, that's the point we're going to make. Oh, okay, that's fine. Mr. Minister.
Mr. Clerk, if you can get your people to run copies quickly, if it is possible.
Mr. Minister, are you okay? All right? Okay. Yes, we will start with a few questions, very few questions. We'll come back to questions, but we ourselves will ask one or two, and then, okay, he says you will let me, then we'll get the members, and then you would take it from there. Not many of them. When the chief Inquisitor-in-Chief, no, I'm wrong. The chief proponent, Atta appeared before us. He took us through quite a lot of documentation. One of them being the Physical Responsibility Act 2018 at 980. He was wondering if I was taking him a certain sequence. You are capable of answering the questions any way I put them, so I deal with the ones that I want to deal with. Yes. better. So, Fiscal Responsibility Act. And then he suggested to us that you violated violently some of its provisions. But I've since been looking at the Act, and I think you seem to have confirmed that it could not be applicable to the year 2018. Is that right? Because you look at the Act, and it looks like the President assented to it on the 28th of December 2018. Could it possibly be applicable to the year 2018 that he discussed? There's quite a lot of discussion of it on the page 36 of our bound volume of the transcript. What do you say about that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair. I think the Act was passed by Parliament and assented to by the President December 2018. And as you know, our laws do not have retrospective effect, and so truly, it shouldn't be applicable to numbers that occurred in 2018 and 2019. And then in 2020,
Honourable Minister, with all due respect, if the Act was passed in 2018, it will have prospective effect, and 2019 will be covered, unless it was suspended. No, he said 2019. No, he said 2019.
I'm talking about the 2019 budget, which was read before.
2019 budget was passed in December 2018.
That's correct.
Fantastic. Okay.
Thank you.
So would it apply to both budget, the 2018 budget, 2019 budget would be applicable?
And in 2020, we came especially to the House to set it aside. So.
Yes. Okay. And there's also a matter that I bring to your attention that you shouldn't really worry about. I see that Ato Forson, Honorable, suggested that as soon as you exceed the 5 percentage point by the 1 percentage point, he says the provisions of Article 82 must be triggered. I've since seen the Act. It doesn't look like that's what the section says. Section 4 says votes of censure, and it says Parliament may. The directive, not the mandatory shall. So I'm not sure we should worry our heads much about that. Because I said I am missing my things, I'm not in any particular order. As a matter that I also want you to address for my comprehension. In course of your deliberation, you did state that Bank of Ghana, the Governor of Bank of Ghana, for that matter, the institution, has got quite a lot to do by way of currency and the physical state of the country. I'm taking the trouble to look at Article 1A3. Incidentally, I think you did mention it, 1A3, and it would appear that the responsibility for maintaining the stability of the currency actually rests on the Governor of Bank of Ghana. Is that the case?
This is a leading question.
Mr. Co-Chair, not sure it's a leading question. I did mention it in my deliberation.
Whether it's leading or not, we will discuss this here. If he thinks he can overrule me, we will deal with it over here. So don't worry about that. Yes, so what is that the case?
I mean, essentially, the Bank of Ghana, of course, as a state, shall promote and maintain the stability of the currency of Ghana and direct and regulate the currency system in the interest of the economic progress. As such, the Bank of Ghana manages our reserves, leading to interventions to contain. Mr. Co-Chair, I don't think that's an issue. The Ministry of Finance and Bank of Ghana work in close collaboration, and as they use their various tools and instruments to stabilize the city, we also support rail sector growth as we look to encourage more exports and find means of bringing in foreign exchange such as Eurobond issuances, etc., so that we maintain. So we do share some of those responsibilities, but as per the Act, as you said, it is
well, that is the point, so I found it pretty curious because if I'm reading the Constitution, it's not really out of interpretation at all. It's a prose. The Bank of Ghana, its governor, shall promote and maintain the stability of the currency of the country and direct and regulate the currency, the interests of economic progress of the country. I'm wondering whether you think it might be self-serving, but if you think so, fine. If you don't think so, it's fair for the Minister of Finance rather to be called upon to really explain by way of how it's alleged that he has been reckless in doing the job which by the Constitution some other institution is supposed to be undertaking. I mean, if you have a view, it may be self-serving, but...
Mr. Co-Chair, I think that really may be part of the worrying aspect of being censured at this moment, when through a little bit of discussion you struck out grounds 1, a little bit more discussion you struck out grounds 3, and now fundamentally you are asking about the responsibility for the CD. And to censure a finance minister for the first time in the history of this country, I think we can't make such mistakes.
I will discuss with my colleagues if it will be right for us to get the Governor of Bank of Ghana before this committee. But that's a matter that we will think about later. I can hear you.
Mr. Chairman, I said based on his assertion, we may probably have to...
We may probably have to get the Governor of Bank. That's right. So, yeah.
I beg to differ.
I beg to... Well, it's not a debate. It's a debate time hasn't started.
The Governor of the Bank of Ghana has not been brought before us.
This is for our...
Minister of Finance.
This is for our subsequent discussion. So, okay, yeah.
Sorry?
Colleagues, this is for our subsequent discussion, so we can't be shouting across. Let's drop it. Mr. Minister, yes, I also heard you talk about the energy sector debts, which has bedeviled this economy. Number one, would you be kind enough to tell us a little bit more about the genesis of this debt before you go into the volumes of money that we're talking about?
Mr. Co-Chair, essentially we went into a period in which there was need for power to avert then our doomsaw situation, which resulted in a number of IPPs, PPAs being agreed to with excess capacity, in a sense, more than what we needed. I'll admit that the country has now grown the use of these megawatts that were installed. However, the nature of the contracts were such that they were take-or-pay contracts, which enjoined us to continue to pay for certain capacities, whether we use them or not. Whatever the circumstances are, we essentially inherited a situation where we then ended up paying maybe close to $1 billion a year of charges and power that we did not use. That then put serious strains on the economy and continues to today. Over the past 2 years, however, we have gone into very collaborative discussions with these IPPs. And I think we're on the threshold of securing agreements of 5 of them, which will save the country about $4 billion in the next coming years. So not getting into judgments as to why the issue is what we have had to pay over that period, and what fortunately we are going to be able to negotiate to save that amount of money.
You don't have to be judgmental, but for me it is fundamental to the issues under discussion. Do you say that you inherited this colossal debt?
Mr. Chairman, it does not help with regards to the borrowings that we have to do, or the pressure on the fiscal space as we try to meet these. And we have been able to do that through managing the revenues we have, through our borrowings, etc., and through renegotiations. Mr. Chairman, Co-Chair, I think we are all beneficiaries of a rather stable electricity environment relatively to when we came into government in 2016, and we continue to 2017, and we continue to do our utmost to keep the lights on.
Mr. Minister, can I repeat my question if I didn't drive it home well? I asked if it is the case that you inherited this colossal bill that you're talking about.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we have had to be supporting over about $1 billion, and in the last estimate from the IMF, they are thinking that this energy overhang will be about $1.4 billion a year. That is part of the issues that we are discussing with the fund as to how best to manage that. But yes, it's been quite a difficult situation managing it over these 6 years. So we did inherit. I think you've asked the question enough times for me.
I'm wondering why Mr. Minister wouldn't want to directly confront the matter. But I thought you would have answered that we can take parliamentary notice of the fact that these debts were created before you came in. But if you're not comfortable discussing,
they were created before we came.
Why is it taking you more than 5 minutes? After 3 questions to answer that, I thought it was straightforward, wasn't it? I said diplomat, unlike you. Or maybe unlike Katie Hammond. I see. Mr. Minister, I think you were sitting down and thinking, actually, Parliament does me considerable injustice. They should rather be applauding me. Is that what is on your mind?
Mr. Co-Chair, I'm not sure it's the applause so much as saddened by the weight or lack of weight of some of these questions, and whether they truly, as a nation, warrant a finance minister's censure. When we go through issues of economic management, words like recklessness, incompetence, and this is the historic issue at a time in which there's global crisis, there's work to be done, the IMF negotiations are going on, there's labor discussions, there's a budget to be read, and there's difficulties in economic challenges. And so that is my worry as to where our nation state has got into. Where is a republic in all of this? And could this have been a discussion between myself and the Finance Committee or the Council of State to really show the degree of difficulty that the country is going in, and the fierce urgency then to proceed to tackle it. But really to tackle it, as speaking one language as a people. Because what confronts us is not easy. It requires dedication, a prayerful outlook, a commitment to go forward, and an acknowledgement of our part in it, what external circumstances has meted on us. And truly, this time and effort for such a historic indictment in which we are not quite clear about these issues. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, our colleagues would also answer, but before, one second, before I just wrap up, just to put a record so we all know. Yesterday at 9 o'clock in the morning, I did hear British Sky News, K-Belly's breakfast show in the morning, actually discussed Ghana and said that they thought Ghana was doing fantastic, quite how it all went pear-shaped. They weren't sure, but it's all because of the genus matters where we discussed, the COVID,
Chairman.
the whatever.
Chairman, I invoke Order 197.
Which says what?
The deliberations of a committee shall be confined to the matter referred to it by the House, and any extension or limitations to it made by the House, and in the case of a committee on a bill, to the bill referred to it and relevant amendments. It is my contention that, respectfully, we are being sent on a wild goose chase on matters that are not before us.
What am I asking you to do on that chase? What am I asking you to do on that chase? I'm making a comment.
Co-Chair, I think that, because there's precious time,
wait a minute.
There are so many questions.
Wait a minute. Yes, you have your time to ask your questions. Nobody's going to hurry anybody up.
I don't see the relevance with
You
this
may not see.
news and all
You
of
may
that.
not see the relevance. I'm bringing it up to the whole nation to be aware that our issues have been the concern of other countries, and they've made sure that it's become a matter of public discussion. I'm not asking him to comment. I'm not asking, Chairman, let me finish. When I finish, you make your point. I'm not asking the Honorable Minister to comment on it one way or the other. I am telling the hearing, this committee, that it's a matter that has transpired somewhere. Public information. Well, it's absolutely relevant.
No.
I'm even
please, Honorable Ejapa Mensah, please. Please, Honorable Ejapa Mensah, please respect the chair.
Well, he's been recognized.
The chair has recognized me.
Well, the MPP chair has recognized you.
Well,
because yes, I'm the coach. I'm the co-chair. No, please. No, because you see, it's a point of order. Important. No.
Yeah. So rule on my point of order.
Right. And I was going to say that is a germane issue that has been raised. Because we have to stay within the remit of the referral by Mr. Speaker, so that well, I don't know whether that was.
But I predicated my statement by saying that other colleagues are going to make comments. Before I ran up, this is a matter that came up, and I made the point. It wasn't for him to contribute to that.
I thought you were making the point to the minister, and that is why the honourable member came up.
Even if I did, but I did it. But I did it. So I don't see the basis of service objection. Can we?
Honourable Ejapa Mensah, please, you are out of order.
Yes,
you are out of order. Okay.
My comment is made.
All right.
Who is the president?
Yes, okay. I thought I would give the members the opportunity to ask their questions, but from the interaction.
You say NDC chairman. Are you MPP chairman? So this is not dichotomized. MPP chairman, NDC chairman.
Honorable KT, you please, I said it in jest. So let's take it in that context. Okay.
You pasted your colors to the proceedings. Let's go on.
Okay. Honorable Minister, good morning again. The interaction between yourself and the Honorable Katie Hammond, my co-chair, with respect to Article 183 of the Constitution, in terms of the constitutional mandate of the Bank of Ghana, would seem to suggest that the issue of currency, depreciation, the management of the stability of the national currency should be laid, at the doorsteps of the Bank of Ghana rather than the Ministry of Finance. Is that my understanding?
Mr. Co-Chair, I think your understanding is your understanding.
Well, okay, is my understanding correct?
I think we read the Act.
Well, portions of it.
Yeah.
You read portions of it.
Yeah, so
but
I think
there are also other.
But what I mentioned specifically is that we work very, very closely together to make sure that we bring stability.
Right.
So that really should be the top line message that you take. As to what my oath is as Minister of Finance and what his responsibilities are, that really is not the subject. The issue for me as a Minister of Finance is the impact that the currency is having, of which I'm very, very concerned about, and doing everything I can to support any way to bring in resources, as we did with the Ofori-Atta Bank, to support that. As I mentioned, looking at investment in the rail sector to push that ahead. I don't think this is a time in the country of crisis where we sort of kick the ball to somebody else. So all the energies that we have, the resources we have, we team up, circle the wagons, and move on. And we've been doing that very well, very comfortable with that relationship.
So you would agree with me that there is a strong symbiotic relationship between fiscal and monetary policy, won't you?
It cannot be, there won't be, there has to be. I mean, I don't know what the line of questioning is leading to. Of course, I feel responsible.
Well, you would know in due course. Yes. So if you were to exceed your borrowing limits in a manner that violates the Fiscal Responsibility Act, don't you think that that should result in a vote of censure of the kind that we are looking at today?
Mr. Chairman, it was your choice to sign up to a censure which brought a conflict of interest issue on this. It was your choice to sign up to a censure on accounts at GMPC, which had nothing to do with me. It is your choice when you look at the gravity of where the nation is and whether you feel strongly, as you have indicated, that the finance minister should be censured for these original 7 grounds.
Very well. Honorable Minister, do you remember that on June 4th, 2021, you did come to Parliament to provide answers with respect to the energy sector payments to IPPs on the take-or-pay contracts? The question was specifically filed by the Honorable Alassane Sohini, MP for Tamale North. You remember that?
No, I have to, but June 4th is a date we all remember.
Yes.
I don't know specifically.
Not for the revolutionary upheaval that took place on that day. I'm talking about your answer to Parliament on this matter.
I'll have to be educated.
Okay, so the Hansard of that day captured you. You gave an answer that said that the payments totaled 937 million. Is that what translates into the 17 billion that you have just told this committee is the amount that you paid?
This is June
4th, 2021.
And this, and we are June.
We are in November now,
November
Minister, Honorable Minister.
We are now in November 2022.
Very well.
Yeah. So I'll have to recalculate those numbers to bring to you.
Yes, but you were specific in your answer. You said you made 17 billion cedis. I think I heard cedis. Yes. No, I just want him to confirm if that is a figure that translates into 17 billion. Is that very difficult to do?
No, I can't confirm on, but I certainly will bring you the arithmetic of it.
You also said a lot about take-or-pay contracts that were signed during the Mahama administration, which resulted in the so-called energy sector debts. If you were an investor coming into an economy of this nature, would you build a power plant without a take-or-pay clause that mandates that if you don't take the power, you pay?
Mr. Chairman, is your co-chair seeking an opinion from the minister?
No, I'm not.
This is a rhetorical question, and you're seeking an opinion.
I'm laying the basis for.
If he were
okay,
investor.
can I rephrase the question?
I think the honourable minister is capable of dealing with this matter. So let him. Let him. Minister, can you kindly just put the question again?
Mr. Co-Chair, you know, honestly, we are in a crisis. I've been brought here for some very disparaging descriptions of who I am and my character and the management of this economy. I'm not here to speculate of what investors may think or not think at a certain point in time. As an investor, at any point in time, you try to take advantage of weaknesses, and depending on the strength of who is beside you, or across from you on the table, you take your pound of flesh. Now, we have gone into some of these contracts and truly recalibrating what they are. So I can't want to be part of a whitewashing of events that did not help us, and is part of the issue why I'm being censured.
Thank you. Has your government or the government of which you are a minister signed any energy sector contracts that contain take-or-pay clauses?
I'll have to really confirm on that. Yeah.
And you agree with me that take-or-pay clauses are essential in energy contracts?
There's also a reason why there's take and pay.
Right.
There are reasons why there are other methods of doing that, and that comes with the ability to negotiate. For example, in 2015 or so, the then government, did a $1 billion Eurobond issuance at 10.75%. But that even required a World Bank wraparound. We have subsequently done much more with lower rates. So, I think it's an issue of maybe competence or an understanding of how to negotiate. I think we'll be chasing our tail if we go along this line.
Okay. I will give members the opportunity to take their turn, and then I will come back. So, Honorable Samo Kujeto Ablakwa, Honorable Minister, we will deal with the grounds separately. So, there will be a round of questions relating to ground 2 on the National Cathedral, and when all members have taken their turn, we'll now come to ground 4 and 5, and in that order.
That's strictly speaking the approach. No, wait a minute. Wait. Yes, okay. Yes, it's your turn. Go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I will come to the National Cathedral in a minute. The Honorable Finance Minister has raised some issues with language which he appears uncomfortable with. I want to place on record that same day, on the 10th of November 1999, I have the Hansard here of Wednesday, 10th November 1999. Then Dr. Kunedu Apreku, Nana Akufo-Addo, J.H. Mensah, and others filed a motion against your predecessor, Finance Minister Kwame Pepra. And if you look at column 977, they use similar words. Quote, the NDC government and Minister of Finance in particular had demonstrated absolute incompetence. They didn't say only incompetence. Absolute incompetence and gross negligence in ignoring sound and credible advice, unquote. If you come to column 983 of the same Hansard, they said, quote, anywhere else, such mismanagement is enough for people to stand back and say, we have done our part. We have come to the end of the road. We have gone full cycle. We took the reins of this country when we thought there was a crisis. We have come all the way and put it back in a crisis. This is the time to leave. And if the president cannot leave because of a constitutional mandate, we want the minister to begin the process of leaving now, and will continue in the year 2000, unquote.
Sorry, what is that point supposed to be clarified?
The finance minister is raising issue with the language of the motion, and I want him to understand that it's consistent with the practice in this house.
How can it be consistent? I mean, so that was raised at the time.
This
so
is 1999.
1999. Nothing was wrong with that.
10th November 1999. And the minister himself, on the 12th of March 2013, is on record at the William Ofori-Atta Institute for Integrity lectures to have actually called for a coup. Nothing can be more stronger than that. So I don't think we'll be taking lectures on language from the minister.
What did he say exactly? Let's hear what he said, please.
He said, March 12, 2013, the country's silence on the election petition could trigger a coup, unquote. He was speaking at the William Ofori-Atta Institute for Integrity lectures. So it's available online. It was reported by Ghana Web.
No.
It's a preliminary comment on language. He appears to want to lecture us on language, and I.
Yeah. No, he would do his point of order, but this is so fundamental. In evidence. So we want it expunged for the time being. If we're able to get the tour, can we have a look?
Mr. Chairman, this is not the time to be looking at information on phones. So if you can print it out to members.
No, you can't. Well, just bear with that. No, let's do it. There's something about Imani Ghana. What you shown me is about Imani Ghana, talking about. And then retired captain. Listen, I think we should expand this from Mr. Co-Chairman. Let's expand this. We can discuss this later, and let's get on. Well, I've rested.
Well, Hansard office maintain it until we have examined it.
Yeah, I mean, these are matters of public record. So,
we'll come to you in a minute. We haven't come to you yet. The chair is confirmed. I still maintain that because of the nature of the statement, let's expound it for the time being, and then if we get the printout and we verify we're happy with it, we will know what to do. Yeah.
Okay.
So good.
Hansard office, take note.
Well, thank you very much.
I think the Honorable Yimedu was raising a point of order. What order are you coming
I'm
under?
only pleading with you, the co-chairs, that the whole Ghana is looking at us.
Yes.
And therefore, I entreat you that some comments should not be entertained at all. This statement that Honorable...
But are you revisiting the statement
to
the hearing of the whole world?
Well, it's been expunged, so let's go on.
Okay.
But I'm saying it for this to guide us, because you make a statement that a statement has been made in the Hansard. This statement was not made by the Honorable Minister. So how do you use it against him?
Very well.
Immediately,
the point is well noted,
right?
Honorable.
Thank you.
Yes.
Honorable co-chairs, I will begin my substantive questions on the National Cathedral matter. I note from the Honorable Minister's response that he appears to set his own parameters and proceeds to answer them. He says at page 6, item number 12, Honorable co-chairs, 3 days ago, when the proponents were here, they alleged that I had made payments from the contingency fund to support the National Cathedral. I want to state that this is just not true. Let me be categorical. I have not taken no money from the contingency fund to make payments for the National Cathedral. He proceeds, paragraph 13. It appears the proponents have confused the contingency fund with a contingency vote. Let me explain. There is a difference between contingency fund and contingency vote. Co-chairs, I've been going through the verbatim report, the official, because I didn't hear the proponents say this. And so when I went through the verbatim report at page 29 of 165, and honorable members can refer to the verbatim report, page 29. The Honorable Haruna Idrisu, he says, and I quote verbatim, I would like to start with the National Cathedral. Ghana is a much respected religious country where there is coexistence between both Muslims and Christians alike. Nobody is against the president promising and honoring God with a cathedral for the expression of the Christian faith. But when public resources are used for that purpose, it needs us to call into question. I just gave the clerk to the committee a warrant signed by the Honorable Minister for Finance for some amount for the cathedral, and that is what you are holding. I will tender it in evidence and say that we are aware that by warrant signed by Honorable Ofori-Atta, Minister, 29th October 2022, and an expenditure of 142,762,500 Ghana cedis was allocated for the construction of the cathedral. We want to know when parliamentary approval was granted for this purpose. And then also, I refer to the Auditor General's report. I will just pick two and yield to Honorable Atufosin, unquote. Nowhere in this verbatim report did the proponents say that money was taken from the contingency vote or contingency fund. Indeed, if you look at the grounds, Honorable co-chairs, it's very clear, and I'm surprised that the Honorable Finance Minister circumvents around the very clear grounds provided in this motion. It says, and I read, unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated fund in blatant contravention of Article 178 of the 1992 Constitution, supposedly for the construction of the President's Cathedral, unquote. That is the ground. So I want to find out from the Honorable Minister where this matter of contingency fund and contingency vote is coming from, because we don't see that in the verbatim report.
Honorable Minister, did you listen to the question?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I surely did. That's what
Very well. So can you answer the question?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, the question here seems to suggest that there was unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated fund. So I went on to define the two different funds in which one might make a mistake, and made it very clear that A, we did not go through the contingency fund, and that we went through the contingency vote. So, I mean, I think that puts the issue of constitutional illegality.
Mr. Minister, 1 second. You say we are not all quite conversant with some of these economic terminologies. Maybe that is also conflating the issues with the committee member. So what are you saying? There is a distinction, and if there is, please clarify. There's a distinction between what is here, clearly written here, consolidated fund, and then the consolidated vote. Is that what you're saying? Contingency vote. 1 second, Sammy, 1 second. Sammy, 1 second. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but I think, Co-Chair, what the Honorable MP is suggesting that there was no mention of contingency vote and or contingency fund, and so I have
No. In the question, let's look at it again. It says specifically the withdrawals, 2 items here. There were actually 3 items. There were withdrawals. 1, 2, from the contingency fund. Forgive me. If you talk in unison, we're going to be all confused. Consolidated fund, 2. And then the third one is the constitutionality or otherwise of it. So you have the consolidated fund here, and then you have the unconstitutional element attached to it. You seem to be drawing a distinction between the consolidated fund and then the second one, which is what? The contingency vote. So let's see if let's get it right. Happy for your technical people, because that's why they are running. If there's any issue that the technicals can help, we have no difficulty at all.
Mr. Co-Chair, I mean, it was important that we made that distinction, and essentially what Honorable is saying, that it's unconstitutional to have withdrawn proceeds from the consolidated fund. And I was making it clear that whatever money comes from the consolidated fund goes into a number of items. That could be anything. And in the consolidated vote, maybe resources that we go into consolidated contingency vote, where we go through, or contingency fund, which we did not use. And so that really is my line of discussion. If it was in his mind inaccurate, at least I have confirmed how we got those resources and used them.
Our colleague Honorable Boama, I think, has some clarification.
Honorable Minister, the question, the proponents on 3 are alleging that you made some unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated fund.
Yes.
Have you made those withdrawals? Simple.
No.
The Honorable Finance Minister has just said in response to Honorable Patrick Boamer's follow-up question, that he has not made any such withdrawals. Is that my understanding?
Mr. Blakwa, I said unconstitutional. Please, for the avoidance of doubt, please.
So, if it is constitutional, can the Honorable Finance Minister let us know when he received parliamentary approval for the said withdrawals? I have two withdrawal warrants here, 29th October 2020 and 31st March 2022. Do you have any parliamentary approval to proceed with these withdrawals in the 2020 budget and in the 2022 budget? In 2020, you withdrew 142.7 million. In 2022, you issued instructions to the Controller Accountant General to withdraw 25 million. I've gone through the 2020 budget, the appropriation. I've gone through the 2022 budget, the appropriation. There are no such approvals. So if you contend that they are not unconstitutional, can you help us with the basis for that contention?
Thank you very much. I get quite nervous about the level of passion on the construction of the cathedral. We certainly did receive parliamentary approval for whatever we do with our contingency vote. And that is what I went through to do that.
Can you please help us with evidence of that approval?
Of the approval of the budget?
How did you get the approval you referred to?
And the other government obligations.
I have looked at the...
And I believe I have the liberty at that point.
Even if you come under, it is really shocking that such a major project will be treated as a contingency. It's shocking. All my 12 years in this house, I've never seen this.
Let's get something right. Yeah, you said that it is shocking. Sorry, colleagues, let's get this right. Is it, I think we are dealing with the constitutionality or otherwise of the issue. Your emotions don't come in. Whether it's shocking, it really doesn't come in. Is it constitutional or it's not constitutional? Let's deal with that, please.
Well,
it is...
Honorable Co-Chair, if the expenditure was incurred without conforming with the constitutional procedures, such as getting parliamentary approval for the expenditure, all right, even under the Public Financial Management Act, that will be expenditure in excess of appropriation. And therefore, the finance minister would have even breached the statute. So the question of constitutionality is not here about the interpretation. It is about compliance with the constitutional procedures for the expenditure of public resources. And this committee and parliament can delve into the constitutionality or otherwise of actions taken by the finance minister with respect to the expenditure of public resources. And I think that is where the honorable member is coming from.
But
so he's asking,
one second,
no,
where I put clear to the minister, we'll come to it. Where I put to the minister did indicate the source of the money. Other government, is that what he said? Other government obligations. The point then was that, is that unconstitutional?
Well, Mr.
Asking my colleague,
yes,
person who asked the question to
yes.
address his mind.
Honorable K.T. Hammond,
yeah.
Sammy, you can go on.
Honorable co-chairs, I hold in my hands the appropriation bills for the respective years. I also have the reports on Office of Government Machinery for the years in issue, 2020 and 2022. Nowhere in their reports to Parliament, when they accounted for expenditure in those years, did they report to the House. Can the Honorable Minister for Finance tell us why that happened? Because the practice is, even if you come under contingency, you must report to the Finance Committee as you seek approval for the ensuing year. Why was Parliament kept in the dark all these years?
Yes.
We are seeking leave for the honorable member to furnish us with the document that he's holding so that we can appropriately respond to the question. Because for me, the problem is with the use of the word in the motion unconstitutional withdrawals.
Very well.
Now, the only institution that can determine that any act pursuant to the Constitution is unconstitutional is the Supreme Court. Well, so if he used the word unlawful withdrawal, then the onus and the burden of persuasion is on him to show us how that withdrawal is unlawful. The minister has already explained that there was an appropriation, and then the payments were made out of the contingency vote as part of the appropriation for other government business
obligations.
I don't see how that is unconstitutional. And if the honorable member has a contrary procedure, which in his view is the lawful procedure, then he must show us.
Very well. What the honorable member is doing, he will furnish you with the document that he's holding. But that evidence, okay, if you say that it was under other government obligations, all right, it must be a line item in the budget as approved by Parliament. It must be, very well. Council, yes. You know, I know you are my senior at the bar, but I beg you, I'm the chairman of one of the chairmen of this committee. All right, so, and council would listen to the committee and its members and not argue with us. Thank you very much. So,
by not arguing, you mean he can't make his point? Or
no,
what,
he can. No.
Calm down.
Honorable. With all due respect.
Calm down.
If we were debating this motion in Parliament, the counsel to the honorable minister would not have had the opportunity to be at the bar of Parliament. Once we are here, and he has a right to counsel, all right, I expect that counsel can make his submissions, but not interrupt the chair when the chair is making a point. That is the point that I'm making.
Honorable Chair, the point is very well noted.
Thank you very much. We have to stamp the authority of Parliament. It's not about Dr. Ayine. It is about the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you.
Chair, I'm happy to tender all the documents I'm referring to.
No, you are not tendering. You are a member of the committee. You furnish them with the documentary evidence that you have referred to.
Very well, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for the guidance. So I will make them available through you to the clerks and to the witnesses. Yes, they can. The clerk can come for them.
Let's confirm with that. You need to have a look at them now to be able to answer, or what do you want to do? What's your...
Honorable Co-Chair, as a factual matter, we are of the considered opinion that there was no violation of any constitutional provision. There was also no violation of any subsidiary legislation. And we will educate ourselves with the facts as disclosed by the documentation in the possession of the honorable member. But it will not change our opinion.
So what is the exercise in giving you? You won't change anything. So the point I was making is that you want it now, you want the documents now, or?
Yes, we would like to see it, but he can go on with his questioning. Yes, but for the specific answer to the question that was put to the Honorable Minister, he has already explained. And at the risk of sounding repetitive, I would say that the payments were lawful because they were authorized by an appropriation. And subsequent to the appropriation, the payments were authorized out of the contingency vote on the specific allocation made for other government business. And the Honorable Minister and the other government obligations. And the Minister illustrated that point when he referred to payments made on behalf of the Black Stars in 2014, as well as the current Qatar delegation. It's a similar situation. We would be hard-pressed to answer that question.
That is well taken, Counsel. The fact that a violation might have occurred in 2014 doesn't mean that it cannot occur. It should not. That a finger should not be. No, please. That is an expression of their opinion, right? Very, very well. Honourable members, order. Please, the honourable ministers around the table, I know you are here to support your colleague, but I am pleading with you. Yes. Yes, you are heckling the members of the committee, and that's very unfair. That is very unfair. Please, can we have some order around the table and let the Honourable Okujeta Blakwa ask his questions. Thank you, honourable members.
Well, thank you very much, Honourable Chairman, for the protection. The Honourable Minister for Finance is still proceeding strongly, and the contingency vote provided for under the Office of Government Machinery. Other government obligations, yes. I have asked the Honourable Minister to let us understand respectfully why, after you have done that, you did not report to this House, as has been the practice, because other government obligations, the Finance Committee and the plenary will approve all of these matters after, and then the new budget for the ensuing year will also receive subsequent approval. How is it that until we intercepted these documents, Parliament didn't know at all that apparently public funds were going into this project, contrary to the initial promises anyway that the Ghanaian people had been told?
Honourable Co-Chairs, it's really not the practice for a line-by-line reporting, except under goods and services, CAPEX, etc. If it's a new approach that you would like to suggest, I think we'll consider it. I think my discomfort was the issue of constitutionality.
Mr. Chairman, can the Honorable Minister recall that on the 28th of November 2018, when we debated the 2019 budget, the minority cautioned that, and I quote, this was, I hope Dr. Ayeni doesn't mind me quoting verbatim from what he said at column 2893 of the 28 November 2018 budget. He said in the penultimate paragraph, quote, Mr. Speaker, I have reviewed the budget statement itself, and there is no statement whatsoever which relates to the National Cathedral. In other words, there has been no request for any estimate to be approved by this House for its construction. Mr. Speaker, a number of critical questions may be asked at this point in time because the Honorable Minister for Finance mentioned it in his speech, but it is not contained in the budget statement. I would want to ask 4 critical questions about this budget statement. Mr. Speaker, the first one is, what is the value of the land to be provided by the state? I'm aware 21 townhouses that were built to house our judges will be demolished for the purpose of the construction of the National Cathedral. Mr. Speaker, another critical question is, what is the cost of running the Secretariat for the entire duration of the construction of the National Cathedral? How much is the seed money to be provided by the state? And on and on. There were no answers. Does the Honorable Minister recall this debate? And is he able to tell us that the practice now for such important projects, national edifice, some estimates putting it at $400 million, that he's going to always hide it under contingency till it is completed?
Before the Honorable Minister answers, did you say that there were no responses to what you...
Yes, yes.
There
were no responses at all.
Hansard.
Yes, the Hansard of 28 November. So if he recalls this debate, because some people have argued that probably
but he wasn't in the House to have been able to respond. Is that a point?
Yeah, but the convention in this House is that the ministry must be represented during the debate.
It wasn't like a question put to him directly, but it was...
No, during the debate. The
So
debate.
he couldn't have been there and he couldn't have responded.
Yeah, but does he recall that we raised these concerns?
Let's put that on record. Not that he avoided answering questions. Yeah.
We raised these concerns during the debate. So what we are doing now is not new. Does he recall? And the second part of my question is that, is it a new practice to classify such a major national project, $400 million, under contingency?
Thank you very much. Co-chairs, I think on Tuesday, we were very, very particular about the issues of particulars for this censure to make sure that we work within the remit. The question is one of constitutionality, which apparently we have been able to clear the air on. And now drawing us into a fishing expedition becomes a very difficult thing. I don't think we will be able to finish this. And if it's really a motion of censure of the finance minister, and it is these issues that are directing us to that, I think we need to be a bit careful. So we can certainly update Parliament at any time on these issues. But I think the people of Ghana should know very clearly that the issue of unconstitutional withdrawals did not occur, and we could have ensured that it didn't come. But in fact, I think Honorable Atto Forson, if you look in the Hansard, did mention something about contingency fund anyway. I'm not sure the honourable member as to the issue of value of land, cost of the secretariat, how much seed money, is this a new practice? I'm sure we could have resolved these things outside of the ambit of constitutionality, which is what I've been brought here for. And that is a heavy, heavy charge.
Mr. Minister, I think I keep on assuring you that the question of, we're not here to interpret the Constitution, we're not here to enforce the Constitution. If anything, we are applying the dictates of the Constitution. I think the point is settled. As far as I'm concerned, it's settled. It may be throwing in additional information, but for me, it is settled. The question was that some monies were taken for the purpose of the building of the cathedral. Unless, of course, there's a categorical denial that any monies were taken, then it's an entirely different matter altogether. But if it's admitted that some monies were taken, I think your point is that you took it out of a certain grant, a certain vote. I think you call it other government obligation. That's where you took the money from. You said that that came to Parliament for our consideration and approval. Wait a minute. No, I'm not debating you.
Yes,
I'm trying to make a point. Yes, I mean, that is the point that you have made. He says that, as far as he recalls, there was some discussion in Parliament along these same lines. You went there, so you'll be able to answer that question. We debated this and raised exactly the questions that he's raising about how much was involved, whatever the money is. Your point, as far as I'm concerned, it's what you made already, and that's what your lawyer said. So the constitutionality argument, it shouldn't trouble us at all. There are modalities. One second. This is the Constitution. To take money out of the government, whatever, Constitution provides for how it is done. That, I think, is the constitutionality he's talking about. The government, other obligations and whatever, they fall under the same law. And your point is made clear that this is how I took the money. So constitutional arguments don't come in here. My colleague Mesa wants to make a contribution.
Mr. Chairman, indeed, I'm surprised that
I keep talking about feelings of people getting surprised and getting
because I'm very well. I'm making reference specifically to page 134 of 165, and then also page 135 of 165, where the Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa posed the question. And if you permit me, I'll read. He says, Mr. Blakwa, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. On the National Cathedral, Dr. Atuforsen indicated that Article 178 has been breached because there was no authorization by Parliament. I have heard some government communicators say that perhaps the Honorable Minister of Finance can come under contingency and do what he has done. Is that a view you share? Does the contingency fund under our constitutional arrangement allow an honorable minister for finance to do what has happened in this case? And this is a response that Dr. Forsen gave. Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm not aware that a contingency fund in particular can be used for such a project. The Constitution is clear on how the contingency fund can be used. For the Honorable Minister responsible for finance to be able to use the contingency fund, he would need the approval of the Finance Committee of Parliament. You would recall that during the COVID-19 era, the Honorable Minister for Finance appeared before Parliament and got approval under the Constitution requirement on contingency fund. So clearly, the transcript from the first day of hearing suggested that some contingency fund process had been employed. And that is why the minister...
No, not at all. Honorable Minister, you are out of order. You are grossly out of order.
Why am I out of order?
You are out of order. You are out of order. You are completely out of order. The portion that you have read, all right, was a reference to what government communicators have said about the use of the contingency fund. And to be clear, to be clear, the contingency fund is a specific creature of the Constitution, and there are constitutional procedures. And in fact, the Honourable Minister himself has appeared before the Finance Committee when I was present, where he asked for approval under Article 178 of the Constitution, okay, because there are unforeseen expenditures that have to be made, for which provision has not been made in the appropriation bill of the prior year. So please, you are completely out of order.
Respect.
Please.
Chairman,
Can we?
Respect.
No,
Respect.
please.
Respect.
Honourable Mesa.
Respect.
If you will take your turn to ask questions, can you clarify? No. Please. I think there is a determined effort to put hurdles in the way of the Honourable Okujatu, and I don't think that is fair.
Mr. Co-Chairman, excuse me. Sami, you are a member of the senior and prominent member of the committee. Everything will be done to make sure that you have your say. Don't worry about it. But don't worry. These are legal arguments. So when we settle these arguments, you will have a free flow. But if you said that there's a deliberate attempt to put impediment, what word did you use? That is the same as deliberate, isn't it? To put impediments, you're not being fair to the committee. Sami, go on, make your point. The minister would answer to the extent that he can. The committee, in the end, would make our determination.
Chair, the minister's categorical statement is contained at paragraph 12. Nothing that has been read so far confirms what the minister said at paragraph 12. The proponents did not allege that payments had been made from the contingency fund, as he says in paragraph 12.
So we've settled that one. Move on with your next question.
And then, Chair, I would also need. I'll need your direction, Honourable Co-Chairs, Honourable Katie Hammond and Honourable Dr. Yeni. My understanding of what we are doing is that the pursuit of Article 82.4, which is a referral from the Right Honourable Speaker, we are to make a determination, fact-finding of a sort, and we will submit our report to the House for debate, for a decision to be made. But consistently, I keep hearing the Honourable Witness saying that, oh, this matter has been established. This matter has been settled. Is it for him to determine for us if it was the constitutionality or unconstitutionality has been determined? I need your guidance.
I mean, we'll rule on all of that. I mean, we're not going to be able to shut his mouth. The minister is entitled to some sort of statements. I mean, in the end, we are here to determine for ourselves what exactly it is. I mean, it's not about the constitutionality, because that consistently I'm saying that we are not here to determine the constitutional matter. We are here to apply the words of the Constitution. So to the extent that he makes his statement, we would then juxtapose it against the Constitution and see whether we are able to apply the details of it. Don't pick and choose every little.
No, Chair, it's important.
We really need to make some progress, colleagues. The shouting match across the table and all that is not entirely helpful. Let's calm down. Let's.
So, Chair, I can proceed, and
you can. But
I will assure.
A lot of time.
I will assure the Honourable Minister that I'm not on official expedition at all, even though the Volta River
that
goes
comment itself is overruled.
So, the Honourable Minister says that some seed money, government contribution. Can the Honourable Minister let us know the value of that seed money, the quantum? What is that seed money?
Most respectfully, Honourable Co-Chair, we are here pursuant to the motion that is on the floor of Parliament. And the context in which the Speaker referred the matter to this committee is clearly stated on the face of the motion itself. And as far as I'm concerned, the question just put is veering out of the context of the motion.
In what respect, Mr. Akwasamson?
Honorable Chair, the remit of the inquiry that we are doing here is to establish whether there is a factual basis for a censure based on the provisions of law. Presumably, in this instance, the Constitution,
So the Constitution and the standing orders.
yes, and also the Fiscal Responsibility Act.
Yes. All right, the Fiscal Responsibility Act.
Yes. Yeah. And so the facts that we are gathering must be the facts that relate to the context in which the censure can be evoked. Yes. And as far as I'm concerned, the last question that the honorable member asked does not in any way advance that process at all, because it's outside the remit of the scope of the motion that is on the floor of Parliament.
So, yes, I can understand, but we're going to make a ruling and move away from this question. Yeah, we would. But I understand the point that Sami was making. Sami is saying that, well, Minister, admittedly, some monies have been taken. He's got some warrant for whatever. He's got quite a bit of it here. Something has been taken. I think he wanted some clarification from him. He doesn't probably trust the evidence he has, so he's asking him, confirm, how much have you taken? Minister doesn't remember how much he's taken. He doesn't remember. We can move on. I mean, it shows, you have the warrant, and the fact is made that monies have been taken. Let's make some progress, please.
Honorable Anyepo, you had your hand up. Okay.
Mine is really a response to the issue. Mr. Chairman, mine is a response to the issue being raised by Council for the Finance Minister. The Council for Finance Minister brought a response, and in the response, he is stating categorically that some payments were made towards the cathedral. So if a member of the committee wants to know how much payment was made, I do not think it's the
colleague, that's the matter that we moved away from. Yes, he wanted to say something.
Chairman, I think we are wasting too much time on this. The Constitution makes an exception for withdrawals from the Consolidated Fund under Article 1781B Roman 1, with your permission. And the Minister has clearly stated that the monies that he took for the purposes of the cathedral was based on the appropriation that Parliament approved. And it says no monies shall be withdrawn from the Consolidated Fund except B1 by an appropriation act. And he's clearly laid the foundation that he got it from the other government obligations line. Period. I think it's clear. It's clear.
I mean, your next point. You wouldn't ask any more questions on this one.
Unless he can establish a contrary fact.
That's fine. Yeah. So we move on. But he has to finish.
Mr. Chairman, when you go through the verbatim report, the proponents.
Wait a minute, this is still on which
yes,
one?
National Cathedral. Still on the
but
National
not
Cathedral.
on the money.
No, I would. Yes, I trust my intercepted document, so no problem.
I'm sure the national security apparatus is here. Who are intercepting documents?
I will grant the lawyers that if they don't want the minister to respond, that's okay. But going through the verbatim report, the proponents also indicate that there were other withdrawals, which they contend are unconstitutional withdrawals for payments of architects, for relocation of judges, for compensation of demolished properties. What does the Minister of Finance have to say about that?
Sami, are we not revisiting the same point? Wait a minute. The point is that he's taking some money. Yeah, he's taking money from wherever it was taken from for all the allied matters related to the cathedral. So what is the better? To what? Agree to what? Put the person. Does he agree to which one?
Can he confirm they were said whose result was?
Have you not shown us this document? Compensation. The architect is not about the cathedral.
Council, we just want your client to confirm if these withdrawals took place. That is a yes or no answer or an explanation. So that is theirs.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Co-Chair, sorry, my apologies. We do appreciate this, but we seem to think that this question is related to the overall question that was posed in relation to the cathedral project. So it appears that we are revisiting the same questions in various forms, and that is our concern. We seem to think that the Honorable Minister
Council, with all due respect, I think, welcome to the world of Parliament.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
You probably are thinking that you are before the Supreme Court justices. No, this is not a judicial setting.
Not at all.
Yes. So allow the honourable member to ask his question. Your client is entitled to, answer yes or no, and then we can proceed.
Very well.
Is anybody, we're waiting for an answer, or we should go on?
Mr. Chairman,
sorry, say it again.
Honourable Minister, are you ready to answer?
Sure, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman. I thought the primary issue was the legality of where we took the resources from, and I think we've explained it. And so now it gets to the question of the specificity of these things. And Mr. Chairman, I do not have that here.
Very well. Honourable Ablakwa, do you have any further questions? And then we can move on to other members of the committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I will rest for now and cede to other members.
Very well. Honourable Patrick Boma. No, I am offering you the opportunity. Okay. Honourable Ejapa Mensah.
The issue about...
This is friendly fire that is coming, so don't be worried.
Finance Minister, the issue about contingency vote and contingency fund, is it the usual course of government operations to expend, as you indicated in your response, referencing specifically the funding for the World Cup 2014 and also the World Cup 2022, for matters that are not specifically provided for in the budget, be funded from that vote? Is it the usual course of government operations to do that?
Mr. Co-Chair, it is, there's precedence and it is a practice. And I guess the issue of the creation of that line item or pocket of resources is because we live in a world of uncertainties in which there will be emergencies. And that allows for nimbleness or response, when it's needed. And so that's where the contingency vote comes into play.
Obviously, this is not an activity of government that started when you became finance minister.
No, sir. I think we have the famous issue of Brazil that is very graphic to all of us.
That will be all for now.
Very well, Honorable Ahiefo. Do you have? Oh, sorry, Honorable Zenato. Before Honorable Ahiefo, Zaneto.
Thank you, Honorable Co-Chair. Just for clarity, would the Minister kindly inform the committee on how much the government of Ghana has spent to date on the National Cathedral?
That matter is settled. That matter is settled. That is the point. Wait a minute. That is the... Wait a minute, please. We are here for a purpose. We're not going to be repetitive. We're not going to repeat that. The matter that we got bogged in with Sami was the question of how much. Has it been paid yet? Has it been paid yet? He said, I think we were here, we heard him clearly, that he might not be able to recall exactly how much has been paid in total up to date. He made that one clear. And your question again is that, well, could you tell us how much has been paid?
In all fairness, Co-Chair, in this age of electronic communication and the easy availability of information from the Honourable Minister's ministry, the sum total of the expenditure to date can be put together easily. I'm sure Eva, can do that, retrieve that easily from her phone. So please, it's a fair question.
For the purpose of this.
Well, for purposes of getting, the minister to answer the question. Honourable Minister, we are waiting for the figure.
Honourable Co-Chair.
Yes.
On behalf of the Minister, you would recall that on the first date...
Honourable, sorry, Counsel.
Yes.
Are you raising a legal technical point?
I am...
If you want to testify on behalf of your minister, your client, then I'll let the reason. You want to be sworn in?
I don't want to be sworn in. If I were to be sworn in,
witness of fact. We don't know about the truth or otherwise of your testimony.
Yes, but
said.
That evidence will not even be coming from proper custody because I don't work at the Ministry of Finance.
Very well.
Yes.
So,
but at any rate, what I'm just trying to lay the context in which the minister is probably having a difficulty offering figures now, because at the beginning we opined that we needed particulars of the charge or the grounds that he was supposed to answer. If these had come in, it's just a matter of adding figures at the ministry and coming here to deliver the information. And I will go back to the motion on the floor of Parliament. It is not the duty of the minister to offer information that will, excuse me to say, promote his censure. You know, the promoters
yes.
of the censure motion, they should have collated all this information before they came here.
Council, so it's a very simple matter of the minister saying that I do not have the figures.
Exactly.
This committee will not reject that answer as inappropriate. I don't know why.
I think he has
Yes, so yeah, if he says he doesn't have the figures, no one is going to compel him to produce them. Yes, Honorable. No, is that on a point of order?
Yes, Chairman. With due respect to Council, this matter crop up regarding furnishing the minister with particulars. This committee has taken a decision that after the evidence of the proponents, there will be a transcript furnish the finance minister. And that has been done. And some figures has been alluded to in the transcript. So I do not sit down here and have the feeling that regarding the transcript, there is any element of surprise to the minister. So if the minister, upon receipt of the transcript, is still maintaining that he is not aware of the figure, we'll take that as an answer.
So let us point him to the page where that particular figure is, and then let him comment on it. My friend.
It's okay. The minister is entitled to answer his question, and then.
Honorable Co-Chair, am I to take it that I will not be given a response to my question? Because as a House of Records, I could mention a figure that I have. Will the ministry be in a position to corroborate this by providing us with documents afterwards?
It's a better approach. You got a document like Sami had something. You know, you want to flash it at him and you want to seek clarification of that. We have no difficulty with that. But you ask
based on the total number I have so far, the amount that the government of Ghana has spent so far on the cathedral is $199 million, US dollars. I beg your pardon, US cedis. I beg your pardon. No, the amount of money spent by the government of Ghana to date is 199 million cedis. I corrected myself. May I? Is that correct? And will the ministry be in a position to furnish the committee with the figures to either corroborate or otherwise the amount of money government of Ghana has spent on the National Cathedral to date?
Mr. Co-Chair, we will be able to in due course.
Very well.
Co-Chair, the minister mentioned in his response on page 7 that the money was taken from what he referred to as a contingency vote. And my question is whether all the approved amounts have found expression in the budget subsequent to that, because usually this is an emergency or an ad hoc, but this appears to be an ongoing expense. Has this found expression anywhere? Has this found expression anywhere in the budget, in subsequent budgets that the minister has presented to the House?
Could you please clarify that question a bit?
Honorable Senator, the Honorable Minister is asking that you clarify.
What I'm referring to is the minister mentioned that the money that was spent on the cathedral came from a contingency vote, which is part of the contingency fund, Office of Government Machinery. Has this other government obligations, I beg your pardon, has this subsequently found expression in budgets that he has presented to the House subsequent to this?
Honorable Minister.
Madam Co-Chairs, thank you very much. It hasn't found the expression that the Honorable MP is seeking. But I think when we look at the Auditor General's opinion, Attorney General's opinion, I'm sorry, we should, in the ensuing years, as we stabilize how the funding will come, it should be able to come through that entity. So yes, no expression has been found as we speak. But given the opinion, I would imagine that's where.
Document. Okay, very well. Given that you clearly stated, Co-Chair, given that the Minister clearly stated that the information on the cathedral on page 9, I beg your pardon, in the new document on page 8 of the Minister's response, 18I, where he refers to the announcement of the establishment of the Board of Trustees and the Secretariat for the Castle, I beg your pardon, Cathedral, the approval of the groundbreaking ceremony, and also the letter of intent signed, and then in IV, the announcement of the expansion of the cathedral project to include a Bible museum. For me, the question I have is, given that all of these are so clearly stated, can the Minister provide information or a bit of clarity to the committee why the amounts that were spent on the cathedral were not outlined as clearly as all the intentions and ceremonies that went along with the committee, with the cathedral, I beg your pardon?
Once the minister is at it, Zami, you don't have to put it on record, but tell me, I thought you were Catholic or Methodist or Christian, or you are not a Muslim, that I know, you are not.
Neither am I anti-cathedral. But you know
you
know that in the Bible, in First Chronicles, in First Chronicles, the Lord stopped David from constructing a cathedral for him because he had shed blood. So when it comes to the house of God, God wants us to proceed in holiness, in purity, in cleanliness,
to
edify and to glorify Him.
You haven't answered.
So,
are you Methodist?
No, I know where you are headed to. I'm not atheist. I'm not a pagan. This strategy will.
Honorable Ablakoy, I think
I'm doing the Lord's work.
You made your point. In fact,
the chairman
partially out of order.
We really have to. So what's going on there?
Mr. Co-Chair, I did mention the Attorney General's opinion, which now is going to reside all of this with the Museums and Monument Board, and will therefore, in the ensuing representations to Parliament, hope be a lot more specific as to how the financing would be done.
That's a fair answer. Please proceed.
Are you done with your questions on the cathedral, so we can make some progress?
No, not yet, but I thought we were making progress by going through each item.
Yeah, very well. So please proceed with
it.
you.
Not the cathedral.
Yes.
You're not done with the cathedral?
No. Yes. I've actually only asked, I think, 2 questions, but each question has taken a while. So, yes. My third question, if my numbering is correct, is to do with the architectural consulting firm that has been taken on board with regards to the building of the cathedral, the design and all of that, the construction. Is the ministry in a position to tell us how much is being given to the consulting firm and the architect? Specifically, Messrs. Sir David Ajay and Associates. Or should I?
Mr. Co-Chair, I think this may be the third question with regards to the specificity of numbers. And I think I've answered that question. That if need be, that could be provided.
Sorry, I didn't hear the... Be provided. Very well. Okay. Yes. And if I may ask a question, co-chairs, just seeking your direction and asking a question to the minister on the questions we're asking and a question in hindsight. Would you permit? My question would be to the minister whether in hindsight he would have presented the expected expenditure related to the cathedral to Parliament in a more transparent, I suppose, way
hindsight,
to avoid...
I got it down. Hindsight is 2020. So maybe
I know,
we'll
hence
move
my
on.
question.
We'll move on. We won't deal with hindsight.
So you won't give the minister an opportunity
your
to...
Your current question. What's your current question? Don't deal with the hindsight.
I think the minister has even answered that question. If you are listening, he referred to the Attorney General's opinion and said on the advice of the Attorney General, they will do things differently. So we are looking forward to how differently the minister will do things. So are you done?
Yes, thank you.
Very well. Honorable Boama, no questions for the minister. Honorable Ben Adahiefo, you have any questions?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Since our side just stopped, Kwame, do you want? No. In fairness, that's the procedure. So in fairness, that's how we've been proceeding. So I don't want Kwame to think that I'm, being unfair to him. But if you want to yield to him, that should be fine. Okay, Honor. Very well, very well. I mean, I'm yielding the opportunity to ask your questions now. That's what I meant. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to just ask a brief question to the Finance Minister on the issue under reference. Honorable Finance Minister, you tendered Attorney General's opinion in evidence in support of your evidence. Was the opinion of the Attorney General available at the time you were making the first payment to the National Cathedral?
Mr. Co-Chair, opinion was in 25th March 2022.
So when was the first payment made?
I'm sure it was way before that time. As you know, we cut short somewhere 5th March 2020 or so.
Now, if you take a look at the opinion of the Attorney General, he never advised you on payment, but rather the legal status of the cathedral. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah, the legal status, that's correct.
But never on payment.
Not that I read in here, but once you have a legal status, it informs the direction in which you will take.
Which are these?